How did one drunk night with his best friend turn into papers in my hand at noon? Why did my husband stay calm while I called him controlling and made him the villain online? What happens when he stops arguing and chooses a quiet, legal plan instead? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Ardis Rune Calver. I am 32 and I work the front desk at a salon. I like attention and quick praise. I call it energy. My husband is Jonah Pike, 35, a logistics coordinator. He likes plans, lists, and calm. He calls it order. We loved each other, but we did not love the same way. 1 month before our wedding party with friends, I told Jonah that I wanted his best friend, Caleb. I said the crush lived in my head and felt honest. Jonah said no. He said a marriage needed simple rules. I said rules could bend for truth. He said honesty was not permission. I heard control in his voice and felt heat rise in mine. I told myself he was scared of real desire. I told myself I was brave. On the night it happened, I drank too fast. I said to the group that we should celebrate freedom. I danced until the room tilted. I remember the rush, the laugh, the idea that saying a want out loud meant the risk was smaller. Jonah asked later why I did it after he said no. I said I had warned him. He said warning was not a pass. I said he was cold. He said he was hurt. I posted the next day that I was honest and that adults make new rules. Some friends cheered. My mother said I was bold. His mother sent a calm note that respect still matters. I called that note old-fashioned. I told myself I could fix the story with a better story. I told myself Jonah would cool down if I kept the crowd with me. I was sure I could turn harm into a brand. I did not see the quiet plan he started. The apartment smelled like hairspray and old wine from the party. I set my phone on the kitchen counter and watched my own face in the black screen. I told myself that honesty should count more than rules. I thought about the night when I said to Jonah that I wanted his best friend, Caleb, and I told myself again that true adults can hold two ideas at once. I said in my head that I had said the want out loud, so the risk was smaller. I knew he had said no, but I kept thinking that a no to desire was only fear. My mind knew this was a trick, but I liked how it felt. Jonah came out of the bedroom with 2 mugs. He placed them on opposite sides of the counter, like enemies who needed space. He said the night had been loud and he needed quiet. I said quiet sounded like blame. He said he was not blaming. He said he was thinking. I said he should think faster because I had a salon shift and I needed a plan. He said no plan could undo the act. I said he was being dramatic, and I reminded him that I had told him first. He said warning did not mean permission. I did not like that line because it was clean. I opened the wall planner to find my color pens. A new red circle sat over Wednesday. I had not drawn it. The circle made me feel watched. Near the base of the planner, a thin folder labeled Household leaned on the mail stack. I told Jonah that he was building a stage with props. He said order kept the room from spinning. I said the room was fine and I was fine. He looked at the separate mugs and then at me and said he wanted dignity. I said dignity was code for control. He walked to the hallway table and put a small USB stick in his pocket. He said he needed fresh air. I said he should not leave when I was being brave and open. He said he did not want to say words he could not take back. I said I would post something to explain that we were modern. He said posting would not heal anything. I said my followers understood me. He said his body needed distance. I said distance meant punishment. He said distance meant safety. I followed him down the hall and stood in the doorway of the guest room. The spare blanket lay flat with sharp corners. The pillow was puffed and centered. I said he was petty for making the guest bed look inviting. He said he did not want to fight in the same bed where we sleep. I said we had always slept fine after fights. He said this was not the same. He kept his voice low and even, and that calm scraped me like sand. My phone buzzed with messages. Mila sent a note that I should take water and rest before work. I told her that rest would look like guilt. She said she would not pick a side. I said there was only one side, the honest one. My mother had left a string of hearts and a message that I had told the truth, and that truth was brave. I liked that one. Jonah's mother, Nora, sent one line that respect still matters after honesty. I rolled my eyes and told myself that mothers of sons always liked rules. I opened my camera and filmed a short story. I said adults can make new rules in marriage if they speak openly. I said people should not punish desire. I tagged no one. My face looked clear and steady on the screen. I felt better for 5 seconds. Then I felt the hollow again, so I added music and posted another clip about staying strong. Jonah brushed past me toward the door. A small banner flashed on his phone and then slid away before I could read it. When I moved closer, I saw a calendar tile on his lock screen for a second. Downtown, 10:05 a.m. He turned the screen down. I said he should not hide plans from me. He said the calendar had always been shared. I said he was secretive. He said I was loud. He bent to tie his shoe. I tried to touch his hair. He straightened away without sharpness. He said he did not want contact while the room felt hot. I said my body was not a stove. He said my posts were fire. He picked up the thin household folder and set it by the door. He said he would bring it back. I said he was trying to scare me. He said he was trying to breathe. I told him I wanted him to care enough to argue. He said yelling would not change the past. I said quiet made me look like the villain. He said my actions did that all by themselves. In the kitchen, the sun made a light stripe on the counter between the mugs. I moved them closer for a photo and typed a caption about bending, not breaking. Jonah came back and set them apart again. He did not say anything. I said he was proving my point, that he loved rules more than me. He said I loved applause more than us. The line stung because it was close to true. I laughed in a way that sounded bright and fake even to me. Eager to feel strong, I scrolled my messages and found Caleb's name. The last preview was a blur of words about the story we should keep. I typed that the version was simple. 2 adults. Too much drink. Honest feeling. No harm. He replied that Jonah had said no before the night. I typed that warning first made it different. He wrote that the internet would not care about my logic. I told him to stay off my page until the noise died. He said he would keep his head down because his DJ gigs needed a clean face. He added a sad face. I felt a small flick of rage and closed the chat. I packed my bag for work. Jonah held the front doorknob and said we could talk after my shift if I wanted a quiet room and no phone. I said that sounded like a lecture. He said it sounded like a chance. I said I would think about it. He nodded. The door latch clicked. His footsteps went soft on the stairs. I stood still and listened to the apartment breathe. The fridge hummed. A street truck beeped in the distance. My phone vibrated with a call from an unknown number. I let it ring out. I told myself nobody important called from blocked numbers. I put on a jacket and posted a selfie of my face in the hallway mirror. I wrote that real love respects real talk. Likes rose. My stomach felt both tight and empty. On the way out, I noticed a clean clipboard by the mail with a single word on the top sheet. Statement. I picked it up and set it down again. I told myself he was making a list for the breaks or the budget. I told myself he liked useful words that made me feel dull. The salon lobby smelled like shampoo, nail polish, and hot coffee. The white chairs looked clean in the morning light, and the big mirror behind the retail shelf made the room look like 2 rooms. I sat at the reception desk with my smile on and my phone face down. I told myself I could shape the story with better words, not fewer. I greeted walk-ins and answered the phone with a voice that sounded restful even when my chest was not. By 10, the first client who knew me from online leaned across the desk and asked if my weekend story about new rules was fiction. I said it was a brand thought experiment. She said it sounded personal. I said everything I post came from art, not confession. She smiled like she did not believe me, but wanted her hair more than the truth. I booked her for a cut and pointed to the waiting area. My manager, Priya, stepped out of the office with a soft face. She tapped the glass of the HR back room with her knuckle and said she would need a quick word when I had a minute. I said I could talk now after I checked in a color client. She said now would be best. I felt heat rise in my neck but told myself I could sell the angle. In the HR room, a framed poster said, "Respect is a shared language." Priya said she had seen my posts and also a few tags that included the salon location because I had filmed at the front desk last week. She said sponsors sometimes search staff names. She asked if I could avoid posting about sensitive personal matters that might pull the salon into a debate. I said I had only posted about honesty and adult freedom. She said public fights take oxygen from work and make clients nervous. She asked if I could consider a pause. I said a pause would make me look guilty. She said calm might make me look professional. I said my brand was energy. She said the salon brand was care. Her eyes did not waver. She asked if I could, at minimum, not film on the floor for a while. I said fine. She thanked me and said she would check in next week. Back at the desk, the front printer spooled a job for a stylist, and the soft mechanical sound ran like a slow breath. It made me think of our home printer and the blank page it sometimes pushed out when it was confused. A stylist assistant walked past and whispered to another that the receptionist had gone story time about her husband again. The whisper landed like grit in my mouth. I smiled anyway and asked a man if he wanted water. He said he was fine. I set up a post for later titled "Freedom in Marriage." I wrote in simple lines that desire can be discussed and that adult love is not a cage. I did not mention Caleb. I did not mention consent. I did not mention Jonah's no. I scheduled it to go live at lunch. I told myself the best defense was a thrift store of glittered words. The tablet on the desk flashed with tagged posts. My profile rose into the salon's location feed. Some comments called me brave. Others said poor Jonah with a sad face. I pinned one that called me real. I deleted one that called me what I did not want to read. My laptop, which synced with our home account for calendar and bills, left a window open when I tapped the trackpad. A spreadsheet showed on the second monitor, only initials and dates in neat columns, no letterheads, no names. The file path said, family share. My throat tightened. I closed it fast and checked the dock. The icon looked like it had updated a minute ago. I told myself Jonah liked to keep lists for taxes. I told myself this was a normal thing. I told myself 3 different ways, and none of them settled. A missed call banner lit up on my phone with no caller ID, and then disappeared. I tried to call back, but the number would not connect. I felt watched by empty numbers and clean columns. To feel in control, I opened the salon camera app and checked our lobby angle for fun. My own face looked thoughtful behind the desk. I told myself I looked strong. Then I set the phone back down like it was a hot cup. Danny, who sometimes covered nails and sometimes sat with me up front when we were busy, rolled a chair next to mine. She said the group chat had seen a bar clip from last Saturday where I made a toast about honest desire. She said the clip was getting views with a rough caption. I said captions were lazy. She said people loved rough captions most. I said they would get bored if I stayed steady. She said they would turn if I kept poking. I asked what she wanted from me. She said she wanted me safe. I checked Jonah's and my shared calendar on a small corner of the screen. A line had appeared on his personal section. Meeting, personal 2:20 p.m. The label looked like his style, clean and plain. I swiped it away from my phone, but it still sat on the laptop calendar like a thin bone. I told myself it was a vendor pickup or a haircut. I told myself he liked appointments with names that meant nothing. I told myself he was being dramatic for effect. The words felt weak even as I formed them. At noon, my scheduled post went live. It said that adults can negotiate, and that love grows when we let air in. My mother commented hearts like a bouquet. My sister Mila sent a private message that she would not fight with strangers in my comments. She said she loved me, but would not be my lawyer. I said she was failing me. She said she was saving me from myself. I locked my screen and swallowed a burn. Mr. Baird, the neighbor from our building who came in sometimes to buy hair clay, pushed the door with a beep. He looked at me as if I were a headline on his phone. He said he needed a small jar and a receipt. I rang him up. He said the building chat was on fire and asked if I had seen it. I said I did not care about basement rumors. He said it was not only rumors. Someone had posted a long paragraph about me and Jonah, and Caleb's name had been dropped. He said the comments moved fast. I said speed is not truth. He said truth moves slow, but screens are fast. He smirked like he had said something wise. I handed him the bag and told him to have a good day. Priya called me back into the glass room for a second quick word. She said we had received 2 DMs asking if I had filmed inside the salon while discussing private matters. She asked if I could post a note saying, "I respect client privacy." I said I always respect clients. She said she knew, but people needed cues. I said I would write something after lunch. She thanked me again and said she appreciated my work. Her tone stayed kind even when the words were hard. I came out to the desk and took a breath. The printer began to spool a long stylist order. The hum filled the lobby. The sound pulled me back to the kitchen at home, to the household folder by the door, to the red circle on Wednesday, to the USB in Jonah's pocket. I shook my head to clear the thread. A teen came up to ask if we had a student discount. I said we did and gave her the code. Small things helped. Danny nudged my elbow and asked if I had seen a comment under my new post where a stranger said Jonah had done nothing wrong except say no. She asked if I wanted to reply. I said I would not feed trolls. She said not every critic is a troll. I said today they were. She moved back to her table without arguing. The afternoon crowd grew. I answered calls, slid appointment cards across the desk, and smiled until the muscles near my ears felt stiff. Every few minutes, someone looked at me a beat too long, the way people look when they know a secret and want to be caught without the risk. I held my chin up so they saw the strong line, not the shake. At 2, the meeting. Personal 2:20 p.m. reminder flashed on my phone again. I dismissed it. The dismissal felt childish, like pushing a door that would not move. I thought about texting Jonah to ask what it was. I did not, because I did not want to look like the person who needed answers when my whole brand was built on having them. Caleb sent a message that said, we needed to keep the same notes if anyone asked. He said his manager at the club had heard whispers. He said he would say it was just messy fun and that alcohol is not a crime. I typed that he should keep quiet, not cute. He wrote that keeping quiet made him look guilty. I typed that all speech did that today. He left the chat on read. A woman from a PR firm who liked to feel important came up and asked if I was okay. She said she had watched my reel and wanted to know if I ever did speaking events. I said I could. She asked if I could talk about new marriages and brave honesty. I said I could talk about that all day. She said she would DM me, but she also said brands hate chaos. I said this was not chaos, it was growth. She nodded in a way that meant nothing. Near closing, the tablet buzzed with a cluster of tags. Somebody had reshared an old clip from a rooftop where I called desire a flame that needs air. A thread under it turned hard, and a few accounts tagged Jonah by name. I hit the 3 dots and turned off tags for an hour. It felt like moving sandbags while a river rose. I moved to sweep the front mat. The broom made tiny lines on rubber. The front door opened for a stylist carrying a product box, and a camera flash from the sidewalk popped by accident as someone outside took a photo of their friend. The light bounced off glass and hit me in the eye. My heart jumped for no reason. I laughed at myself and kept sweeping. Priya came out at last and thanked me for getting through a tough day. She asked again if we could talk tomorrow about setting a small boundary for posts. I said we could talk. She smiled in that careful way managers do when they want a storm to move south. I said storms make fresh air. She said broken roofs make bad hair days. The line was meant to be light. It felt true in a way I did not want. The rooftop bar glowed like a pink aquarium. Glass walls held back the wind and turned the city into a soft blur. Danny waved me toward a corner under a neon sign that said, "Good times." She said the light was kind to faces. I said I needed kind light tonight. She asked if I had seen the comments under my lunch post. I said I did not read comments. I only wrote them. She raised her eyebrow and let it go. Caleb slid in from the stairwell with a casual grin and a jacket that smelled like smoke and mint. He said he had a late DJ set across town. I said he could stay long enough to be seen. He said, being seen with me was not smart. I said it was loyal. He said loyalty had different shapes. The word shapes felt like a dodge. I told him he owed me steady. He looked over his shoulder at a couple filming their drinks and said the city liked movies more than people. A group near the rail turned their heads one by one. I knew that look. It was the look of people who wanted a show and would call it authenticity later. Danny whispered that this was the moment to frame the story before strangers did it for me. I said I could carry the room. I lifted my glass and smiled. The music dipped just enough for voices to land on top of it. I said I believed in honesty, and that saying a want out loud was better than hiding it. I said adults can make new rules. I called Jonah careful and kind, and I said careful people sometimes need a push to see new ways. I felt smart for saying kind first. Some heads nodded. A woman in a denim jacket asked if Jonah had agreed to new rules. I said we were in conversation. She asked if the conversation included the word no. I said his no felt like fear. She nodded, slow, like she was filing me. Caleb hovered a step behind me. He said we had been drunk and silly and that it was messy fun. I repeated messy fun and tried to make it sound cute. A man in a cap asked if Jonah had said no before the night. I said he had said no, and I had said my truth, and we were still learning. The man said learning after harm sounded like spin. I laughed and said the internet had made everyone into judges. The laughter felt brittle in my mouth. Phones lifted, lights bounced off faces. A chant started at the far table for a toast. It rolled toward us like a warm wave. Danny grabbed my elbow and said, "Keep it short." I said, I would not keep it small. I raised my glass higher and said, "Here is to courage and to the freedom to speak desire without shame." I said, "Here is to love that grows." The cheer rose, but I heard a thin thread of boo mixed in. It might have been the wind. I told myself it was the wind. My watch buzzed with a tiny tap. The shared planner flashed a line in neat grey. Downtown 1:10 p.m. tomorrow. I tilted my wrist and swiped it away like a gnat. I told myself Jonah had errands, or a haircut, or a lunch with a colleague. I told myself he had the right to be busy, and I had the right to be loud. The neon sign painted my hand a warm pink. I liked that color. It made me look soft when I was not. Two strangers asked for a photo. One held the phone at arm's length and said it was for a group chat called Hard Truths. I smiled anyway. Danny leaned in and asked if I wanted to temper the story. She said I could talk about grief and confusion instead of bravery. I said, bravery sells better. She said, better to who? I said, to everyone who matters. The answer made her mouth go flat. Caleb shifted beside me. He said his manager had messaged him about optics. He said he might need to step back online for a bit. I said stepping back looked like guilt. He said guilt looked like drunk decisions. I said warning first makes a difference. He said not to Jonah. I felt heat creep up my neck. I said Jonah had framed me as small long before I made myself big. Caleb said I was mixing metaphors again. I said metaphors were how people forgive themselves. A woman I did not know announced to her phone that I was here, that I was the free pass bride, and that I had the nerve to smile. The phrase free pass bride stung and also tasted like sugar. I wondered if it could be a headline for later. Danny whispered not to repeat that phrase. I said I could reclaim it. She said not everything needs reclaiming. She was probably right, but I wanted to win, not be right. We moved to the smoking patio for cooler air and more camera angles. The patio faced a river of headlights. Caleb stood against a metal rail and tried to look at ease. A man near us said he recognized him from Jonah's old photos. He asked if this was the best friendship I had chosen. Caleb said we were adults. The man said adults still hear no. I said I had been honest. The man shrugged and turned away with a bored face that hurt more than anger. Danny showed me her phone. Someone had posted a slow-motion clip of me giving the toast. The caption asked if I was proud of hurting a man who had said no. Hearts twitched and then faded. I told myself people needed me to be either saint or villain. I said I was neither. I said I was a real woman. I had practiced that sentence so much it sounded like a script. A trio of women asked for a selfie, and then, with the camera down, one asked if I thought Jonah would join us tonight. I said he had schoolwork and was resting. She asked if he would ever come to a bar with me again. I said he would because he loved me. She said love cannot breathe under someone else's choice. I wanted to say I had chosen for both of us because I was braver. I said nothing. The chant for a toast rose again. The phone lights grew brighter. The DJ faded down the track, as if to give me a stage. I lifted my glass and said, "Here is to people who try." I said, "Here is to people who live out loud." I said, "Here is to not hiding." It sounded thinner than before. I drank anyway. The park smelled like cut grass and sunscreen. Nora had planned a gentle family afternoon for pictures with Jonah's nephew, Tavi, because Tavi had a class board about heroes. I wore soft colors and brought a bottle of lemonade to look steady. Jonah stood by the path with his hands in his jacket pockets. He said we could do the pond first. I said the light would be better by the playground. He said the child came before the light. The line landed like a soft weight. Mila walked with me from the lot. She said she loved me, but would not argue with strangers for me anymore. I said I did not ask her to. She said I had asked the minute I posted. I said posts were for me, not for her. She looked sad and asked if I could be quiet for one day. I said quiet was how crowds write my part. She did not answer. Tavi ran up with a paper crown from a party and asked if we were ready to be brave today. I said I was born ready. He said brave means kind in his class. I said brave can mean loud too. He said the teacher said loud is not the same as brave. I looked at Jonah. He was watching the ducks with a small focus that felt like armor. We started with walking shots along the pond. The photographer, a calm woman with a clipboard, said to keep our steps light. I held my shoulders back the way I do when I want to look like a person who is never wrong. Nora walked by my side. She asked if I had eaten. I said I had coffee. She said coffee is not food. I said praise is food. She did not smile. She said she hoped we would all rest soon. At the bench, Lydia handed me a comb and said my hair looked better, a little flatter. She said the internet had turned harsh since the rooftop and asked if I wanted her to post a defense. I said yes, something about how honesty is love. Nora said honesty without care can be harm. Lydia said, mothers protect daughters. Martin, quiet as always, said, respect is not a trend. His voice was calm the way water is calm before a drop. We set up a group photo near the swings. Tavi tugged my sleeve. He asked if I hurt Uncle Jonah on purpose after he said no. The question opened a small hole in the afternoon. I felt heat rise in my face. I said I had told the truth first. He said the teacher says truth first is still hurt if you do the thing. I said adults are complicated. He said the board for class had only simple boxes for heroes. The photographer clicked twice like a metronome that did not care. Jonah's phone buzzed on the bench. A pale banner flashed. Paper drop, 8:25 a.m. tomorrow. He tapped it away and tucked the phone under a folded jacket. I tried to look like I had not seen it. It sat in my mind like a thumbprint. I told myself paper drop meant school forms. I told myself he liked neat names for chores. The words felt cheap. Inside the family restaurant after the park, the long table wobbled a little under the weight of water glasses and elbows. The server slid bread across a plate and asked for orders. Lydia told the server that we were celebrating love. Nora said we were celebrating family. I wanted both. I ordered quickly and held my hand still in my lap. Mila asked if I would take a few days off posting to let things cool. I said cooling was a story I did not want. Martin asked if I had talked to Jonah without an audience. I said he did not like talking. Jonah thanked the server and said we could keep the room gentle. The word gentle made me want to throw a plate, so I smiled instead. Tavi placed a worksheet on the table and pointed to a box that said, Hero Choices. He asked if being brave meant doing a thing, even if someone said no. I said sometimes. Nora said not in this house. Lydia said the world had changed. Martin said respect had not. The server coughed by the drink station like he had swallowed a seed. I kept my smile on, but the corners were tired. A neighbor paused outside the window with a stroller and peered in. He lifted his phone and then lowered it with a guilty face. I watched my reflection in the glass and tried to see a woman who could still steer. Caleb texted that his DJ boss had asked for a chat about story risk. He said he needed space. I typed that space looked like betrayal. He did not reply. Jonah ate half his food and boxed the rest without drama. He thanked the server again. He did not look at me. Nora asked me if I wanted tea. I said I wanted calm. She said calm is not the same as silence. I said silence makes me look guilty. She said shouting makes everyone tired. The words in that row felt like tiles on a floor I did not pick. When the bill came, Jonah paid without asking. He handed back the leather folder and smiled at the server in a way that meant nothing and everything. On our way out, I reached for his sleeve. He moved a small step to the side, so my hand caught air. The move was not cruel. It was even. That evenness hurt more than blame. Back at the apartment later, I found a sticky note by the mail. Bring forms. A thin USB with today's date lay near the key bowl, slightly scuffed, as if he had moved it, and then set it down for me to see. The guest bed looked newly smooth. The tidy lines mocked my noise. I told him he was building a museum of order while I was still alive in the street. He said he liked museums. I said people do not live in museums. He said people learn in them. I said I was not a lesson. He said he wished that were true. The office door was half open. The shredder hummed a small, steady tone and then quieted. His laptop screen showed a clean desktop tree with Archive A and Archive B. When I stepped in, he minimized it. I said secrets were poison. He said records were air. I asked why he needed so much air. He said the room had been smoky for a long time. He kept his eyes on the blue bar of a file moving across the screen. A CloudSync pop-up flickered. File uploaded successfully. He clicked it away without drama. I moved to the kitchen and set 2 mugs side by side. He walked in and moved them apart by an inch. I said cups were not a therapy session. He said cups were cups. I said he was making a point. He said I was missing several. His voice did not break. I hated that. In the hallway, the door to the guest room stood open. The duvet lay flat, like a stage. I asked if he planned to sleep there again. He said yes. I said that made me look bad. He said that made him sleep. I said sleeping apart would make people talk. He said people already did. I told him he should take down the alarms and the little notes. He said the notes were for him, not me. I reached for his phone on the console to check the planner. He placed his hand over mine and said we would talk tomorrow. He said he needed my work hours for the week. I said he could view the shared calendar. He said he preferred them from me. I said I would send them after my live. He said I should think before I live. The sentence was boring and correct. I gave him a small, cruel smile to feel less small. The apartment smelled like paper and warm plastic. I realized the smell came from the printer. It pushed one blank page and then fell still. I said the machine was dramatic. He said the settings were off. I said everything in this house was off. He did not bite. He walked to the outbox and placed an unsealed envelope there, the flap resting like a tongue. I asked what it was. He said mail. I said what kind. He said I would know soon. I called that a threat. He said it was a plan. The balcony air felt thin and sharp. Lights moved across the street like a slow parade. I held my phone and tried to draft a post that would make me look brave again. The words kept slipping away. Inside the office, the printer gave one soft cough and pushed out a blank page. I walked in and saw Jonah at the desk. His laptop showed a clean desktop tree with 2 folders named Archive A and Archive B. When I stepped closer, he minimized the window. I said secrets were poison. He said records were air. I said the house smelled like paper now. He said it smelled like order. I called order cold. He did not argue. A CloudSync pop-up flickered in the corner. File uploaded successfully. He clicked it away without comment. On the bookshelf, the taxes folder sat near the edge. A small square of tape peeked from under it. I lifted the folder a little and saw a USB stick taped flat to the underside. I set the folder back down and laughed in a hard way. He said nothing. I asked what he planned to do with all this. He said he would handle it properly. The word properly hung in the room like a bell. He asked for my work hours for the week. I said he could use the shared calendar. He said he preferred it from me. I said he was pretending to be my manager. He said he wanted clarity. He put his headphones around his neck and looked at his phone. The screen lit with a caller ID that said private. He stepped into the hallway and spoke in a low voice, just enough for syllables without meaning. I leaned toward the door and then pulled back like it was hot. When he returned, his phone showed a message thread named follow-up. He locked the screen when I looked at it. I told him a live would help the story. He said a live would help the fire. I said the fire needed air or it would choke. He said the fire needed water. His tone never shifted. It made me want to break something and then apologize to the pieces. I put on a jacket and said I needed air outside. He said he would walk with me to the car because the garage light sometimes flickered. In the parking garage, our footsteps made small echoes. He opened the trunk and checked a toolkit like it mattered more than us. I asked if he felt powerful with tools when I felt weak with words. He said tools keep things from falling apart. Words sometimes push them. I said I could hold both. He said tonight I could hold quiet. The echo made his voice larger than mine. I said Caleb was getting heat at the club. He said Caleb could deal with his own life. I said I felt abandoned. He said he would not debate it here. I said he was hiding in calm. He said calm was the only coat he had. We stood under a humming light. I asked if he would come to bed. He said he would sleep in the guest room. I said that made me look bad. He said it made him sleep. A car door slammed on the next level. I flinched. He said we were almost done with scenes. I asked what that meant. He said it meant we would handle it properly. He did not raise his voice. He did not move his hands. He stood like a fence. At the supermarket checkout later, Mr. Baird lined up ahead of me with soup cans and a magazine about modern love. He looked at my basket and then at my face. He said the building chat said I had turned my marriage into content. I said the building chat turned nothing into sport. He said screens love a simple story. I said stories are never simple. He nodded like a judge giving a light sentence. The cashier asked if I wanted a bag. I said I would carry it. She looked at my hands like she expected them to shake. My phone buzzed with a message from Danny. She said my mother had posted another defense, and people had pulled old photos from college. She said it was getting ugly. I typed that my mother meant well. Danny typed that meaning well is not a plan. I put my phone away and stared at a rack of gum until my mind slowed down. Back home, 2 mugs sat on opposite counters like a silent lesson. I placed them together to defy the lesson. Jonah walked in, glanced once, and moved them apart again. I said cups were not a court. He said cups were cups. I said the separation was petty. He said the separation was peace. He walked to the key bowl and set down a small metal key I did not recognize. I asked if it was new. He said it unlocked something that needed to stay safe. I asked what. He said I would know soon. The shredder hummed on the other side of the office door and then went quiet. I opened my phone to schedule a post about resilience. The words felt chewy and stale. I closed the app and wandered into the hall. On the desk near the door, an unsealed envelope lay in the outbox with my name handwritten in careful letters on the corner. I asked if he planned to mail something about me. He said it was mail. I said it looked like a threat. He said it looked like a plan. He kept his voice steady. It made my chest hot. He asked again for my schedule. I gave him times in 2 short sentences. He listened without writing them down. He said thank you. The thank you felt like a stamp on a document I could not read. I asked if he felt better now that he had a plan. He said he did not feel better. He felt ready. I said ready for what? He said ready for proper steps. He closed his laptop with a quiet click. The cloud sync ping sounded once and faded. He looked at me like he was saying goodbye to a weather pattern. The courthouse public plaza had benches baked by noon sun and a square of pale stone that reflected light into everybody's eyes. I wore a fitted coat and a calm I did not feel. I told myself I could make a speech about forgiveness and we could take a photo that looked like a new start. People crossed the plaza with brown bags and coffee cups. A fountain hissed a little to the left. My phone buzzed with a calendar reminder I did not set. I swiped it away and stood straight. An elevator bell chimed from the office tower next door. Jonah stepped out onto the plaza with his hands in his jacket pockets. He looked rested and plain. I lifted my hand and said we could talk somewhere private. He said the plaza was fine. A man near the clerk's window turned from the line and said my full name. He asked if I was that person. I said yes. He held a packet with a colored tab and said I was being served. The plaza sound dimmed in my ears, like cotton. The man spoke in an even voice. He said it was a divorce petition. He said it included temporary financial and possession orders. He said there was an initial schedule about the apartment and the car, to keep things calm while decisions were made. He said I needed to sign for receipt. My pen made a dry scratch on his clipboard. I said this was wrong. He said it was lawful. I said Jonah was ruining me in public. Jonah said we were talking in daylight because the night had not helped. A security officer leaned against a pillar and watched without stepping forward. A child on a scooter clacked across the stone and circled the fountain. A barista from the corner kiosk called a latte for someone who did not claim it. I told the man that I had been honest. He said honesty and the orders were separate issues. He said I could read the packet and see what to do next. He said there would be mediation invites on email and a time to discuss possession and accounts. My phone buzzed with 2 emails. The subject line said, mediation scheduling and temporary guidelines. I opened them because I could not help it. The words were plain and clean. They listed times. They asked for confirmations. They said, do not move shared funds. Do not harass. Do not enter certain rooms without notice. Each sentence pressed on my ribs. I felt small and also exposed, like a window with no curtain. I said to Jonah that he could have told me at home. He said home had not worked. I said he should have asked me to delete my posts instead of this. He said he had asked me to stop turning us into content. I said he could forgive me and that I could learn. He said learning did not change the act. He did not look angry. He did not look proud. He looked like a person who had made a list and finished it. Someone at the clerk counter fed paper into a small printer. The printer spooled a confirmation page with my name. The sheet slid into a tray and folded toward the floor. The security radio crackled with a short burst and a number I did not understand. A man in a suit glanced up from his phone and then looked down again. I felt the scene like a picture I would not post. I tried to step closer to Jonah. He shifted a small distance back, polite even. I said we could still fix this if he posted that we were working on it. He said he would not post our lives. I said he was heartless. He said he was finished with scenes. His eyes did not hate me. That almost hurt more. I asked if he felt better now that the plaza had seen us. He said he felt clear. The word clear had sharp edges. The man with the packet pointed to a page with a short summary of the temporary orders. He read 3 phrases out loud so I would hear them. Possession schedule, account access, communication boundaries. I heard only the rhythm of the words, not their letters. He asked if I had questions. I said I had many. He said the packet would answer some. He stepped back like a tide. I looked over Jonah's shoulder at the courthouse steps, at the door that swallowed people and spit them out calmer. I wanted to ask him to walk with me to the corner for coffee and pretend that we were light again. I said nothing. He said I could email to confirm the mediation times. I said my voice online was part of who I am. He said my voice could be mine without being his problem. He nodded once. It was a thank you to the plaza for staying quiet. He turned and walked toward the steps. The revolving door on the office tower swished behind a stream of suits. The child on the scooter clacked again. The fountain hissed. The clerk printer pushed another small sheet into a tray. My phone pinged with a third email that said intake form. I stood on the bright stone and held the packet like it might warm if I pressed hard enough. My coat felt too tight. My mouth felt dry. I had built a wall of words and found myself outside it. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.